Welcome to Truth Sentinel, watching over the truth in the news. Look, I already messed up by muting my microphone. So I just want to check everyone can hear me. Let me know in the chat, please. That'd be great. Yeah, it should be coming. Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can. I think there's a delay with your comments in the chat, so hopefully you should hear me in a second. What an idiot. Anyway, yeah, thanks, Bob. So, slightly new format today. I'm going to start off by commenting on the news, just to have a quick flick through. Today, I'm just going to focus on the BBC website, have a quick look through, then invite Seth to come and join me, and then I'm going to open the lines, the internet lines, over to you if anyone would like to come and join and make some comments. Of course, always appreciate your comments in the chat because that gives me something to talk about. Let's just say a quick hello to everyone in the chat. Hot Retarded Chicks, Bob Moonlight Poet, Drew, Last Unicorn, Kieran, all welcome, and anyone else listening later in the recording. Let me just remind you what this show is, and remind myself as well. I've got a cup of tea here to help me. Always helps me. If I don't have a cup of tea, then I'm pretty much lost. I should probably mute my microphone when I slurp. Hang on a second. I do listen to one show where they slurp while they're drinking the tea. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. So today I'm going to start by scanning the BBC website, bring Seth in, then bring you in. We're going to talk about what's happening in the world, food shortages, economic collapse, and social unrest. Otherwise, everything's fine in the world. Today's main theme is about lies and propaganda from the media, because it's difficult to know exactly what's going on, because most of what we read in the news is absolute lies. We'll probably talk about Ukraine, the pandemic, China, but why don't we have a quick scan of the BBC website and see what's going on there. Before we do, actually, I just wanted to remind people about this, because even I was shocked. This is a relative new thing. I mean, it wasn't there 3 years ago. Funnily enough, this occurred prior to the pandemic. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but let me just... Kieran says you better talk about the Eurovision story. I will be mentioning that because that is on the BBC website today. Let me just share the BBC website so we can have a look. Hang on a second. Oh yeah, I was just, before we look at these stories, when I say lies and propaganda, let's just look at who funds the BBC, for example. USA Aid, 1,000. Is that 1,005? 1,005K? Is that like $1 billion or 1,005 pounds? Anyway, never mind. Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, i.e. the UK government, Swedish International Development. I wonder why. Well, it's probably worth checking out why they would be funding the BBC. European Union. Okay, fair enough. UK Department for International Development, United Nations. They've been cropping up in the news. Collaboration with the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. But look at the top there, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're one of the top funders of the BBC. NORAD. So NORAD, as in the military organization. So everyone knows that if you fund something, you expect to be free from criticism and to have some influence on what goes on. Nobody's going to give you a penny unless they don't have any influence. So the fact that Bill and Melinda Gates is right at the top there makes it not surprising about all the stories we had about the pandemic coming from the BBC during the lockdown. let's go to the main BBC website. I'm going to just quickly comment on some of these and then go to Seth. So let's have a look at. I'm going to go through it very quickly. I'm not going to spend. I could probably talk for 2 hours on if I talked in depth about each story, but let's not do that. Today's going to be a bit of a shorter show because I'll explain later why, but basically it just makes it easier. I've got to go out after this show. Let's have a look at the main site. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, you should be able to see that. So Finland formally confirms NATO membership bid over here, top left. Let me know if you can't see the stories, by the way. I will click on them. Finland formally confirms NATO membership bid. That's going to escalate the war in Ukraine. This has probably been done deliberately just to make sure that the World War III comes ever closer. The reason is Russia have already said if the more threatened we feel, the more likely we're going to use our nukes. So Finland confirming NATO membership bid means that the border with Russia is going to be full of countries that belong to NATO, and Russia's going to feel threatened, and then they're going to react. Story down here, Somalia, where 329 people vote for the presidential election. Somalia, a state within Ethiopia. The only comment I've got to make on this story is that, you know, that Tedros guy from the World Health Organization, he made a tweet the other day. Let me show you his tweet. Or maybe I'll show you his tweet later if I can be bothered. I'll just read out his tweet. He said, I'm getting lazy. I need to actually, my mouse is not working. Hang on a second. Yeah, so he tweeted this tweet out the other day. Let me just show you that. Let me show you his tweet. He tweeted this the other day, which said, there's genocide in Tigray, but nobody's talking about it. And I wrote underneath, you can see my tweet back to him. Actually, maybe you can't see my tweet. Basically, I said, what about the genocide you're supposed to have caused? Because Tedros is actually under investigation himself for committing genocide, for helping facilitate a genocide. And let's face it, he's responsible for the genocide that's happened around the world during the pandemic. Let's go back to the main website. Just going to comment very quickly on some of these stories. Like I said, there's so many. Actually, after looking at the site, I realized there's just so many. Full lunar eclipse to bring super blood moon. I wonder if that's going to make some people go crazy. The lunar changes in the moon's lunar position is supposed to make some people crazy. Here's one story I thought I'd have a quick look at. Where are there continent-sized blobs in deep Earth? This story is about the largest physical structures on the planet, and they're a total mystery. So, where are these giant physical structures? They're inside the Earth, in the Earth's core. And this article is basically talking about how little we know about the inside of our own planet. And I always think this is a good reminder that if we don't know what's inside our own planet, how can we be predicting the things like climate change? And how can we be talking about space and things that are trillions of miles away if we can't even say much about what's beneath the ground that we walk on? We can't. We've only drilled about what's the deepest we've drilled? I think it's about 7 miles. I'll let you know a bit more on that later, because I'm going to come back to this concept of the fact we don't know anything about our own planet or its ecosystem, and yet we're talking about predictions about climate change and keeping the temperature of the Earth, of the globe, I say in inverted commas, for any flat earthers that are listening. I'm totally open-minded to that we might have been lied to about everything. So I'll come back to the same theme on that later. Let's have a look at some other stories. Supersonic flight. North Korea announces the first death from COVID-19. I had something to say on this. I think this is quite interesting because either this story is fictional because we supposedly don't know what's happening in North Korea, but the fact that it's talking about the first COVID deaths in North Korea, it could probably be verified because they're saying it's been reported on state TV. So if it's true, then my question would be, North Korea, if they are totally separated from the rest of the world, they could have just ignored any disease that the rest of the world are saying we're all dying from this this flu-like thing that only kills 0.01% of people that it comes across. It's virtually the same as the flu. They could have just ignored it, and actually they could have actually said, "Oh, we haven't even got it here." They could have come out the champions. But the fact that they're actually saying, "Oh no, we've got our first case of COVID-19," means they are recognizing the same stories as the rest of the world, which means there's no such thing as there's these stories that North Korea is a country that hates the West and is totally isolated from the West is not true, because they're taking part in the whole pandemic scam. So if that's the case, if North Korea are part of the rest of the world and basically have been told to take part, then that means that all the stories we hear about China and the West, North Korea and the West, and all the little sub-stories like Russia hates America, Russia hates Europe, Europe hates Russia, America hates Russia, all of these stories are rubbish. And it got me to thinking, I'm sure a lot of you have thought the same, that we basically live in a laboratory. Different countries are basically different laboratories. We're all positioned together and they're conducting experiments. Of course, during the pandemic, these are literal experiments, but I think they're conducting them all the time, seeing what countries with people that have more freedom, countries with people that have less freedom, seeing what they can do, seeing what powers the media have, and what they can get away with, what they can't get away with, what causes unrest, what doesn't. So we're just lab rats. Let's see, anything else we can talk about here? Yeah, I did want to also mention down here, it talks about the black hole. I could talk about this and go on a rant. First picture of the Milky Way monster. This is a black hole. To try and explain how far away this is, it says 26,000 light. This monster is a long way away, some 26,000 light years in the distance. 26,000 light years. Well, I think it says here that 1 light year is quite a distance anyway. You're talking about ridiculous figures. I think it mentions down here somewhere. Basically, you're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away. And you can just multiply that again. It's a ridiculous amount. And so they've taken an image. They won't tell you that this is not a photo, and it's very dubious to call it an image, this picture here. I would wager that what you see here is nothing to do with what this is not something that, if you could possibly travel much closer, I don't think you'd see this. I don't think it's a black hole. Black holes are pseudoscience, and it's just a load of old mumbo jumbo. That's my opinion. Maybe you disagree with me. I mean, I've enjoyed reading about black holes, and they sound like an exciting thing if they existed, but I don't think they do. I think a mathematical universe, hypothetical universe, has been created, and I think it's about time we just called it out. I could go on. There's other stories. I'm going to bring Seth in a minute. Let me just click on another story, and then I'm going to bring Seth in and see what he has to say about some of these things. Maybe he has some comments about some other stories in the news. And then I will ask him if you would want to come and comment as well, because this is a call-in show. I'm just going to just mumble for a while I'm sending this to Seth. And I'm just going to remind you that if you call in, you can click on the link that I'll put in the chat. The link is also in the show notes. The link is also in the show notes. So if you click on YouTube and you're not actually logged in, you could still get the link. Switch off the video, put a headset on if you can, because it helps with the sound. And that's it, basically. I wanted to finish by saying about the BBC website, Eurovision. Was it any surprise that Ukraine won the Eurovision Song Contest? Not really. I used to live in Ukraine, as I mentioned before, and I've got lots of friends there. Have deepest sympathies with what's going on there, but they're being used. And all this fake love you hear for Ukraine, I would say to Ukrainian people, don't be fooled by this fake love. It might feel good, but it's a bit like when somebody pretends they love you because they're trying to make someone else jealous. It's not real love. It may feel good for a while, but eventually that person's going to walk away and go towards what they really do love, because there's an agenda going on. William and Kate are talking about they're sending a message to tackle loneliness for normal members of the public. The only problem is William and Kate have no idea what it is to be a normal member of the public. So quite why they're actually even engaging with the public in this way and talking about mental health, I personally find a bit stupid. Let's see what Seth thinks, though. I'm gonna bring Seth in now. Let's say hello to Seth. Seth.
Hey there, Scott. How you doing?
Good to see you. I'm doing fine. I've got my tea here, and then a bit later on, I might actually crack this open. Thai whiskey, nice. Thai rum, because I might go out after this show. How's everything with you? Any news to report?
Oh,
just general news for yourself.
I was sick as a dog for a while. About a week, 9 days ago, something like that. I started getting into making my own rap beats and everything. So I'm going to be able to sell my own music, full stop, which should be absolutely freaking amazing. Definitely the most important thing going on right now is definitely that Eurovision contest, though. My goodness, Scott. I mean, I saw that comment from Kieran, so of course we have to talk about this. Is there anything more important than the obviously completely not contrived victory of Ukraine at essentially their version of America's Got Talent, or what is it? Some sort of an American Idol or some various other pop culture trash dog shit that these people continue to parade as though it's an actual accomplishment that matters. Because as we said, we had to stop those gosh darn Russians from getting their victory. Exactly.
Yes, actually, I probably should have talked a lot more about Eurovision because it is so important. Yeah. UK came second, by the way. Great.
Oh my gosh, Scott, are you gonna go back home, and are you gonna become a proud patriot now? Go pay your taxes and all this
stuff? I'm actually going to go and party after this show to celebrate us coming second. Yeah.
We're number 2. Yeah, great stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with Sweden now following suit with Finland and both trying to join NATO. This absolutely is a provocation to war, period, point blank. Though granted, as you talked about, it seems as though the entire thing is very contrived. But as you notice, the power plays are still being done, because regardless of whether or not these people want to act like they're all buddy when it comes to the one world government angle, the Western powers are still playing out their entire new world order idea with the West, England, Europe, the United States as the top dog in the new world order, in the same way that Russia is still trying to put their like Eurasian new world order with Russia as the big cock of the walk type idea, in the same way China's doing that with themselves there. Each of these major powers are still grinding the average person on the street into dust. I mean, Ukraine is a perfect example of what's going on right now, that we have all these sociopaths here in the United States and abroad waving their flags, you know, our yellow and blue flags, because we just love so much. We support you, Ukraine. Not to mention the fact most of these motherfuckers literally couldn't point to where Ukraine is on a goddamn map of Europe, much less the entire world. Yet somehow they're going to be the ones to help the poor Ukrainian people. We'll give them guns so that they can fight the Russians, and then we'll be aghast when the Russians they're killing people in the streets, Scott. I mean, people that have guns that were given to them by us, but in the streets even. It's absolutely insane. Do you remember a certain young man named, I believe, what was it? Anthony, somebody like that used to be on the show, that actually said that you and I and our ideas were getting a little bit far and we might, you know, be down with neo-Nazis or something. Well, guess what? Anthony seems to be supporting actual neo-Nazis, namely the Azov battalion and all these butt buddies there in the Ukraine. So strange how extremist ideology seems to have flipped, huh?
Yeah, I lost you a second ago there. I lost the internet entirely, so I'm glad you were here, Seth. Did I disappear, by the way, or did I just freeze? Oh, weird. Yeah, so I didn't hear all of that, but I heard about the Anthony and the Azov battalion. I'm sure if Anthony was here, he would probably retort, but that's the thing. I always thought it was good for us to have people disagreeing with us, criticizing us. I think it's great, but you know. Sometimes I think people just don't want to debate. Debate seems
the
to
irony of being called a goddamn neo-Nazi, or claiming that my ideology or what we're talking about of any of our things are science denial, and our ideas like this are the sort of things that get people to become extremists. But all the people that are doing exactly what he would do, which is the mainstream narrative, and of course I never question the mainstream narratives, those very people are supporting people that would be called, or they would have called, neo-Nazis not even 8 years ago when we were talking about this shit in 2014.
I think the other accusation is being anti-intellectual. You know, when talking about the black hole things, like, because for me, it's entirely logical to say that if you say you've got an image that wasn't even taken with a camera, it was made up by algorithms, and it's trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away.
26 trillion to be, or 26,000 light years. 26,000 is also an extremely important number in terms of numerology and like New Age-ism, and the idea of 26,000 years between major cycles and whatnot. These numbers and terms and ideas are repeated over and over again, not because they somehow ring true with the magic of the universe and mathematics, but because these people are religious ideologues.
Probably linked to the Masons, no doubt. And but just from a logical point of view, it is quite accurate to call it a pseudoscience. If you can't observe it, you can't repeat it, you can't test it. You've just got to trust the fact that these mathematicians can say for sure that this thing they created through an algorithm does exist that far away. When we can't drill more than 7 miles down.
I think it was what, 12. Wasn't it like 12?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, something like that. But still, regardless, according to them with the ball Earth stuff, 12 miles is still nothing, right?
And so they can't tell us what's inside our own Earth, but they can tell us what's trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away. I think it's quite a valid argument, an intellectual argument, I would say, to say this is utter nonsense. And unless you can prove it in the normal way we prove things, like I can prove if I tip this over my head, it's warm tea. I'm not going to actually prove that. So yeah. So what about some of the other stories that I mentioned there? Anything else you wanted to comment on?
One of the big ones also is what's going on right now with Mariupol, of the fact that Turkey has already tried to step in and is claimed to be a mediator. I'm granted, is you and I and people that have kept up on what's going on with Turkey for a while there, and the rampant human rights abuses, and the fact that their regime is about as far removed from being a human rights defender as you could possibly be. Even these people are trying to step in and officiate in order to try and create some sort of peaceful solution to this. Because right now there's like several hundred people that are having a major standoff against the Russian military right now in Mariupol. Was it a steel processing plant, if I'm not mistaken?
I really find that whole story weird. It's like,
yeah,
Russia was supposed to march in and take over the whole of Ukraine. They probably could, but we've got this one place, a power plant, where literally the whole war's taking place over there. It's just something weird about that.
sketchy.
I think the whole, strange.
Well, I mean, also we have, that Kim Jong-un stuff. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, what is it? Psy from Gangnam Style and all that looks like shit these days. I mean, my goodness, you love that haircut. I mean, apparently the only person that died of COVID there was his hairstylist. Jesus Christ, man. Or maybe his, personal workout assistant there. I mean, come on.
I think there's a picture here. There's a picture here that just looks so ridiculous. Maybe I can't find it. I'll just show the picture of him here because you were talking about him. But there was another picture I was trying to share, but this will do for now. Just a second. Yeah, I mean, no offense to the guy, but it's almost as if he wants to look stupid.
Yeah, with his square eraser haircut.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it looks ridiculous. He could actually look like a normal human being if he wanted to. He just looks stupid with that haircut. I wonder if that's part of the plan. Make him look like just look stupid.
Well, especially when you include people like him are the ones making decisions for millions and millions of others when it comes to their health and what is healthy and not. And then you see some of these people that are some of like the most fat, out of shape, just disgusting looking human beings. And yet they're the ones telling, hey guys, we got to be healthy and in shape. And I'm like, look, buddy, I'm healthy. I'm in pretty goddamn good shape. You look like you could go, like, I don't know, jog. Just go jog. We'll start like 15 minutes a day, work up from there to like 30 minutes, something, just get your heart pumping, bud.
Doesn't that apply to literally every world leader and most of our politicians?
I felt the same way when I saw that Tedros guy you were talking about earlier. First time he's talking about the new variant, this variant here, that variant there. Oh, this variant. I'm like, buddy, the only variant you need to worry about is getting on the fucking treadmill for a while, okay? Because it looks like you're about to collapse of a goddamn heart attack at any moment. And I ain't talking about the kind that comes from the vaccine.
And Don't Cry Masha has just said they all hate each other, then get together to party, worship Moloch, drink some wine made from children's adrenal glands. What's the name of this festival? Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I mean, anyone who's seen that that video that Alex Jones did, that was quite interesting. There was supposedly mock sacrifices going on there, probably real ones though. I mean,
well, and
the entire weird.
The entire point of the whole ritual too by itself, even if you were to say it's okay, fine, mock ritual, mock whatever the fuck, even if okay, fine, that's the case. But regardless, what they are doing is a bunch of world leaders, business interests, giant mega billionaires and millionaires, the movers and shakers of the world, come together to what? Cremate their care for the world, for their fellow man, for their families, for their own futures. They burn it because they don't care about any of that shit. If you've ever wondered and felt like, don't these people care? No, they don't. They fucking cremated care. They literally created a giant fucking effigy of it and burned it. So yeah, no, they don't. They don't care. They've invested elsewhere. I don't know where the fuck they invested in, but they invested elsewhere.
Sorry, technical problem there. I was just...
Did you talk about... I didn't catch the first couple minutes of the show. Did you talk about Zelensky banning opposition parties all throughout Ukraine?
No, but I'd heard he did that he was pretty draconian during the pandemic
Yeah.
stage as well. But no, tell us more.
Let's see. We got here. This is, of course, I mean, take everything with a grain of salt because it's RT. But Kiev has adopted a law simplifying the process of banning political parties purported to be "quote unquote" anti-Ukrainian. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Saturday signed into law a bill establishing a mechanism to outlaw political parties who oppose his policies on Western integration. The legislation is aimed at political parties deemed to be engaging in "quote unquote" anti-Ukrainian activities. The list of wrongdoing can be used, which can be used as a pretext to ban a faction, suggests that challenging the official position of the Ukrainian authorities on the ongoing conflict with Moscow can lead to a ban. Specifically, it outlaws denial of the "quote unquote" aggression against Ukraine, calling it an international conflict, a civil war, and so on. Any remark about those deemed to be any positive remarks about those deemed to be perpetrating "quote unquote" aggression are prohibited as well, including referring to the forces of the breakaway Donetsk as Luhansk republics as insurgents. The legislation also outlines a simplified procedure to ban a political party. It now requires a court ruling, with all related cases, including pending ones, transferred to a court in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv for as long as the country is under martial law. A ruling on such cases is final and cannot be appealed. But by the way, standing up for democracy, right, Scott? I mean, you and I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of this with our anti-intellectual ways. It's not like we're morally consistent in that we oppose war, regardless of what side is fighting the war and is waging the war and is slaughtering people, because killing people en masse is wrong. It's wrong. Waging war is wrong. I know, it's amazing. It doesn't matter if you've got like a red and yellow flag there, or you've got a blue and yellow flag. It's still wrong. It's crazy idea, man.
Isn't
Crazy idea.
isn't Biden doing something similar in the U.S.? Like and the Democrats saying most Republicans are extremists and probably deserve to be locked up.
Yeah.
Particularly ones during the January 6th thing. And
they tried
Trump
really hard to
supporters.
do it. They've tried really hard to do it, but I don't think that they're going to be able to because of the size of the party that they're trying to demonize. And it's not just the party, because there's all sorts of people that would be considered independents and everything that would be more than willing to fight for the rights of political opposition parties in the United States. Whereas in Ukraine, people are fucked. People are completely screwed, because it's been portrayed as this idea that it's a strongman struggle where Zelensky is some sort of like Christ-like Messiah figure that they have out here. He will protect us all, Slava Ukraini. Like it's a fucking joke, man. It's a joke. He's a bad actor from television.
Oh, some of the propaganda videos about him
Yeah.
have just been insane. I don't care if you're in Ukraine and you think that's helping you. It's not. It makes it look ridiculous. And some of the I think either Zelensky or some head of the military came out the other day and said, "Oh yeah, sure, most of these stories are lies and propaganda, which we're pushing out, but we need that. It keeps morale high." And yet Western media outlets are just taking these Ukrainian stories and then putting them out in their own media and saying, "Oh, these are fact." The Ghost of Kiev, Snake Island, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's not good. Truth is always the best thing, even during war. In fact, let's forget about war. You don't even need it. Kieran says, new Star Trek series just made out that January the 6th is going to be the precursor to World War III.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I don't know what's Kieran talking about there?
Star Trek Picard, I believe, is the one where they were going back in time or some bullshit to some weird, because again, it's modern Star Trek, so it's wokey Trek. I mean, Star Trek's always been kind of left-wing politicsy sort of stuff there, but it was at least couched a little bit better by people who had an IQ above room temperature. But now everything is so on the nose. It almost feels like blasphemous to call it on the nose, because it is handled with all of the subtlety of a child with a fucking sledgehammer, man. It is ridiculous. But they go back in time and find out that the cause of World War III was actually the January 6th stuff, and people
Oh
they
dear.
also had, what was it, the head of, god damn it, I can't remember her name, Stacey Abrams, I believe, is it, the one of the heads of the DNC. She's the president of Earth in the other Star Trek show that they've got now, where it's oh, what was it? They went back. I think Star Trek Discovery is the one, and they've got the president of the Earth, and it's Stacey Abrams, and the Democrats are standing up for diversity in space, just like they are today. And it is so cringy. It's just, ugh, ugh. It makes me so glad I don't watch that crap anymore and haven't for a long time.
Don't you think there seems to be a push in a lot of countries to make there only be one party? Everything's good. Everything's heading towards you need to support this one party. They represent the agenda that we want you
Collectivism.
all to agree. Yeah, and then eventually they'll go for this, maybe possibly go for the global government, and we'll all just be like, you all support the global government. Here's the global narrative that you must believe. And a bit like they're doing in Ukraine, where they're I don't know if you've seen the video. They're knocking on that guy's door and go, "We think you supporting the Russia," and his wife's going, "Oh, please don't take him away," and then they just drag him off and say,
Yep.
"Well, look after him." Of course they will, yeah.
Well, and considering this is
So
Ukraine we're talking about, they could literally just blow his fucking brains out. We never see this guy ever again there. And they go, he's upstate at a farm somewhere being taken care of real well. Yeah, honestly, that's the kind of shit that when we were doing the interviews with the people in Ukraine there and whatnot, I genuinely hope those people understand that Zelensky and these guys, they ain't got your back, man. They ain't got your back. They ain't got your family's back. They ain't got none of this. They're using you as meat suits to go die in a conflict because they don't have the balls to deal with it themselves. If it was
and
up
that
to guys like
applies to
Zelensky to
pretty
pull out the
much.
fucking machine gun and handle it himself, he wouldn't be doing jack shit. It's why he wants you to go die for him.
Absolutely, and that's pretty much applies to most wars. Because we're having a slightly shorter show today, Seth, I'll probably send. In fact, I'll send the link out now in case anyone would like to join us. They can just come in and we'll carry on. There was something else I wanted to say. What was it? Nah, it's gone. It's gone, Seth. Keep talking.
Rest in peace, Randy Weaver. I just saw that Randy Weaver, the unfortunate individual involved in the Ruby Ridge incident back in the day there, died. I thought that was way too bad. Guys, in my opinion, an absolute fucking hero that was robbed of his family by the government. It's here's, if for those of you that aren't in the States here and that have probably not heard of the case, Randy Weaver, family, patriarch of a family that was involved in an 11-day Idaho standoff with federal agents 30 years ago that left 3 people dead and helped spark the growth of anti-government extremists, has died at the age of 74. His death was announced Thursday in a Facebook post by daughter Sarah Weaver, who lives near Kalispell, Montana. "Love you always, Dad," was written on Sarah Weaver's Facebook page, posted with a picture of an older Randy and a smiling Sarah, along with the dates January 3rd, 1948 and May 11th, 2022. Randy Weaver moved his family to northern Idaho in the 1980s to escape what he saw as a corrupt world. Over time, federal agents began investigating the Army veteran for possible ties to white supremacists and anti-government groups. Weaver was eventually suspected of selling a government informant 2 illegal sawed-off shotguns. To avoid arrest, Weaver holed up on his land near Naples, Idaho. On August 21st, 1992, a team of U.S. Marshals scouting the forest to find suitable places to ambush and arrest Weaver came across his friend Kevin Harris and Weaver's 14-year-old son Samuel in the woods. A gunfight broke out. Samuel Weaver and Deputy U.S. Marshal William Deegan were killed. It's 11-year-old or 14-year-old kid killed by cops. The next day, FBI sniper shot Randy Weaver. As Weaver, Harris, and Sarah ran back towards the house, the sniper fired a second bullet, which passed through Vicky Weaver's head as she held an infant and wounded Harris in the chest. During the siege, Sarah Weaver crawled around her mother's blanket-covered body to get food and water for the survivors until the family surrendered on August 31st, 1992. Harris and Randy Weaver were arrested, and Weaver's 3 daughters went to live with their mother's family in Iowa. Randy Weaver was acquitted of the most serious charges, and Harris was acquitted of all charges. The surviving members of the Weaver family filed a wrongful death lawsuit. The federal government awarded Randy Weaver a $100,000 settlement and his three daughters $1 million each, or three daughters $1 million each in 1995. Ruby Ridge was the opening shot of a new era of anti-government hatred, not seen since the Civil War, said Mark Potok of the SPLC. Yeah, fuck the SPLC. In a 2012 interview on the 20th anniversary of the siege. After Ruby Ridge, federal agents laid siege to the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. It ended violently after 51 days on April 19, 1993, when a fire set by the feds destroyed the compound after an assault was launched, killing 76 people. Yeah. So there's a little bit of information and background if you wanted to know about Randy Weaver. I've considered a bit of a tragedy that the guy died, but at very least he gets to be back with, his family. And because, what a rough fucking story, man. There is no justice in that. There is no justice in that.
I'm not familiar with the story, but that's the good thing about us all coming together from different, basically us two being from different parts of the world. Also our listeners, we can all bring things together and talk about stories that mean something to our area of the world, which is why this is an international podcast. I've just sent the link out if anyone else wants to join us. We've got people also from other parts of the world who might want to come and tell us stories from their part of the world. We're going to be finishing earlier today. I think some days we'll finish early, and some days because maybe there's certain stories, or maybe we've just got more time, we can go on for longer. We won't have any fixed time, but
yeah,
today we've probably only got another 10 minutes for 15 minutes. So if there is anyone out there who does want to join us, I just wanted to remind you that this is a call-in show. The link's in the show notes. It's in the chat. Just click on it. Put a headset on if you've got time. Switch your video off to save bandwidth and come and join us. We do these call-in shows. I was going to say lockdown shows, but that's never mind. Just because I'm reading about the Shanghai lockdowns as I talk about this, which I'll mention in a minute. Come and join us. Basically, a reminder of our website www.truthsentinel.co.uk in case we ever disappear. There's 2 YouTube channels. We've got strikes on both. We're still alive though at the moment. While we're waiting, Seth, in case anyone else wanted to join us, I wanted to mention the Shanghai lockdowns. I mean, it's insane what's going on over there, and my personal opinion is this is part of the next stage that's coming to the rest of the world, and they're going to go for these more serious, restrictive lockdowns. I'm totally in contact with what's going on there because my students from China, I do one-to-one lessons and group lessons with Chinese students. They're all in Shanghai or Beijing, and the amount of some of them have literally been locked down for 6 weeks. They're not allowed out of their front door. It's ridiculous, and they're going insane. And during the group lessons that I do, they never criticize the government. You can be in serious trouble in China criticizing the government. They're openly breaking down now. I had one girl crying in the last lesson, and she's going, they don't care about us, and she said more people are going to die. I think things are getting serious over there, and they're taking whole communities in some parts of Shanghai and taking them 100 kilometers away to camps.
Yeah,
I honestly think this is the next stage, and they're going to be killing people there.
Dude, when I saw them take people's pets out in the street and fucking murder them and shit like that, that alone was horrible. I don't know that people are gonna stand up and do anything, and it's one of the things of why, like, individual people, you stand up for yourself, you stand up as hard as you can, like, to the point that I don't give a fuck if they gotta bury you, dude. You do something to make sure that they know that you don't support this. Because otherwise they will grind you underfoot like every other person. You see millions of poor people in China being crushed to death right now under the weight of this. It is killing them. It is killing them, period, point blank, every bit as much as if the government put a gun to their head and pulled the fucking trigger. All right. You literally, what you were just talking about with those people, that they're dying inside. This is crushing their souls. This is literally destroying them. Even if they weren't taking them out and putting them in camps somewhere to, this is the government. Well, yeah, this is the government, though, that has no problem Have you seen Bodies the Exhibition, right? You know what I'm
I know
talking
what you're
about?
talking about. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I saw that as a kid. I was maybe 12 years old when that came through the United States, and they did a big round with that. Chinese government had no fucking problem doing that to political prisoners then, of taking you and plasticizing you and stuff, taking a pregnant woman and killing her and the fetus inside her and putting them both on display in a museum in front of everybody just to make a couple bucks. I like the Chinese government has no scruples whatsoever. They're every bit as much a naked authoritarian regime as you could ever
Oh,
find in the
totally,
entire world.
100%. If anyone thinks that China, there's anything good about the Chinese government, look at what they're doing in Shanghai. It's
Yep.
unforgivable, and they are destroying people, like you say. Even they're probably, I think they are literally killing people. But even
Yeah.
if they aren't, they are, like you say, destroying their dignity.
Well, their
Because
souls, their
yeah,
souls.
yeah,
You heard the screams of those people, man. That's one of the most haunting fucking things I've ever heard in my entire life. Was the sound of those people in the big apartment complexes just screaming as they take their dogs and cats and shit out in the street and just shoot them. Just shoot them in the head because, oh, well, we don't want them getting the COVID. Only virus here is the one in your own head. Okay.
yeah,
That's the only
absolutely.
virus here.
I mean, yeah, it's just I at some point I've already said a few things in my lessons. I have to be careful. I've got to make a
Yeah.
choice. Speak out freely and lose my job, or just I'm just I'm just saying things at the moment. I'm just saying things to them like, yeah, if I was in your situation, I'd be running out the door crazy by now, and but I have to be a bit careful. But I don't know. I'm hoping that these people are going to rise up. That might even be the
Same.
plan. They might be. Again, I do think we are living in a laboratory. What do you think about that idea, Seth? That basically North Korea, it's just all a big lie. Then they are deliberately isolated from the rest of the world because it's an experiment, and that each country around the world are running these psychological experiments.
No, I
We're
think
in a
you're
giant
100% on
laboratory.
point, man. I think you're 100% on point with that. Seeing in general the history of North Korea and what China has used it as, and what the United States has used the threat of it as to keep South Korea in their influence of the world and in their little ideology, because it's very telling as to what the motivations are behind all of this. They've tried to convince people across the entire world that North Korea, well, things could always be worse. At least if you don't like it, move to North Korea. I mean, I've gotten to hear that shit as an American citizen way too many fucking times to count, man. If you don't like it, move to Korea. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get right on that. Move with cool haircut guy over to absolutely the shittiest place on earth that is only kept that shitty by China using it as like the dumping ground for all horrific shit that the Chinese government wants to do. They want to send somebody to go die, you send them to North Korea. Want to send somebody, want to like go steal children or human body parts and shit like that for your elites and everything, for you to be able to get your organ transplants and whatnot. Yeah, go to North Korea. Big time. That's exactly what the Chinese government's been using them for, while the United States uses the threat of them to keep the entire Asia Pacific arena under their thumb.
This is why I think this idea that we're being told lies about countries and our relationships with each other. It applies to totally applies to the Russia-Ukraine situation. The idea that there's this animosity between Russia and the US and Russia and Europe and now Russia and Ukraine. It's all just lies done to create conflict and separate people, and as an experiment, and that Putin, the caricature of Putin has been created,
Oh yeah,
which serves purpose for the Ukrainian people. I'm having discussions with Ukrainian friends, and I'm talking about this idea of the caricature of Putin's been created. I mean, it's so obvious. The media have done it. I'm sure the guy is not very nice. I mean, well, I'm sure. I only know what I've read in the news myself, but
yeah,
my general opinion, just looking at him and the fact that he's a world leader, yeah, he's as bad as the rest of them. But
yeah. He's a Klaus
they,
Schwabite.
yeah, but they've created a caricature of him and enhanced it even more. He's a big hate figure for the whole world now. The focus is on him. I'm sure he'll, at the end of this, whatever happens in Ukraine, he'll be sent off to South America, probably like Hitler, and live out the rest of his days quite safely. I think these people are probably protected.
Well, as
But
somebody pointed out with the beginning of this, no matter what side of this, and this tells you really how the narrative is controlled there, and how this narrative is used to beat people over the head like a club. Nazis, Scott, Nazis. If you're pro-Russia right now, you are like, oh my God, you know those Ukrainian neo-Nazis, those Azov battalion guys and all that stuff. Oh my God, they got like the ZZSS and stuff. There's basically Nazis everywhere, man. And then on the other side of this, the pro-Ukrainian side, oh my God, we got to stop those Russian Nazis. Putin's basically Hitler. Hitler's basically Putin. They're the same thing. Like, it's bullshit. It's entirely a contrived narrative of we good guys, you bad guys. No, we good guys, you bad guys. And it's fucking lame, man. It tells you that it's the propaganda war is the war. There is no real war in Ukraine the way people are understanding it. It's a limited scope conflict that's being fought in different little arenas and shit, but it's almost entirely a psyop war. It's a war for your mind. It's a war for the hearts and minds of the general public there. And I knew this was the direction it was going the second I saw Sean Penn in the country, and they started talking about Sean Penn's in the country with a new documentary talking about Ukraine. I've seen Wag the Dog, dude. I've seen Wag the Dog. This is literally the plot of Wag the Dog. And yet they're doing it. They're getting by with it. Anybody that's never heard of it, check out a movie from, I believe it's late 80s, early 90s. I could be mistaken. It's called Wag the Dog with Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. You ever get a chance to watch this, I swear to God, right now, it is one of the most relevant films you could ever watch because it's everything we're going through right now. And
Bono was there as well doing his
Bono
concert in the underground. Jill Biden, she popped in to say hello as well. That's not to say that there aren't people dying in Ukraine, bombs going off, but yeah, the whole situation is being used. Ukrainian people are being used. We'll find out where it's all heading. Is it World War III? Is it nuclear war? We'll find out soon. We're going to be wrapping the show up pretty soon. Final call for anyone who wants to come and say a quick something. The link's in the chat, but no problem if not. You know, some weeks you can join us. Some weeks, we've got plenty to talk about anyway. Just a few wrap down final comments from me, which are, as usual, I want to say it does look like something is coming, whether it be societal breakdown, economic crash, more lockdowns, and other similar things. So my advice is get access to food, water, think about places to hide out, practice self-defense, learn new survival skills. I'm doing all of those at the moment myself. I'm really taking that seriously. If it all turns out that it was a waste of time, it won't be time wasted, but it will be. I think learning new skills is good anyway. Seth, how about you? Any final points for today?
My advice, or little bits of pointage there, would definitely be along the lines of worry about you and worry about the only treasures that you get to take outside of this world with you. And you don't get to take the meat suit. You don't get to take the car. You don't get to take the wallet full of money. You don't get to take any of that. You get to take the experience and the wisdom gained. And that's the greatest treasure you can have. So focus on the experience and the wisdom gained. Focus on personal growth. Focus on self. Again, people say that's selfish, but in my experience, most people could use a bit of selfishness when it comes to actually understanding self, because I don't really consider it selfish to actually want the best for yourself. And it seems as though many people are so preoccupied with fear, hate, low emotion type, like low thinking, that they end up creating a hell for themselves in this experience, when everything we see around us is that there's some beauty in this world. It's all over. It's in everything that we see. And I just wanted to try and end on a more positive note for people, and to think about being okay regardless of what goes on, because there'll always be some new war. There'll always be some new argument. There'll always be I mean, we didn't even talk about it, but Roe v. Wade or the abortion, anything. Oh, it's all this stuff to get amped up, clutched up, angry, hateful, resentful, fearful. All of these low emotions that do nothing for you versus instead just breathing in, breathing out, as you will continue to, as you have done, and life will be. Life will be. Next week, or what is it, 2 weeks from now, for our next show, I would love to share some of the music I've been working on with you and the audience there, Scott. I think that would be absolutely amazing. It's super cool to be able to have beats and music that I can put out fully. That's me. It's entirely me. It's a surreal experience.
How many tracks have you got, Seth?
I've already got 12, man. I know it's mind-blowing, and I've made like 20 something. It's just that most of them at first that I started with for the first few days didn't make the cut, right? It was stuff of just trying to figure it out, and once I started figuring out how to do proper layering, how to do proper like setting up my own drum loops and everything like that, it was off to the races, man. It will blow you away how fucking professional all of this sounds. It sounds like, well, pro level stuff, and I just I'm so
Music's
proud, man.
a good way, is a good thing to invest your time in as well. I've been having guitar lessons with one of our listeners.
How that
actually
goes.
Yeah, it's going well. Actually, where I live on this island, it's a really great place for musicians to you can be a star on an island. You don't have to be an international pop star. So yeah, Bob, who's actually one of our listeners, I already play guitar, but I'm trying to go to the next level, you know. And I might even do.
Nice.
Me and Bob might even do
electric
gigs.
or acoustic.
Acoustic, yeah. I'm
nice.
an acoustic now. I've been playing guitar for a long time, but Bob is professional, and I'm just trying to get to a higher level. And we might even do a couple of gigs on the island here.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's good. Seth, send me something you want us to play next episode, and we can play it. We can play out. Today I'm playing out with some other music.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We appreciate you. I hope you get something out of listening to us, but we appreciate you too. It's good to be part of an online community. I would also recommend you make sure you've got a physical community that you can get to should things go downhill. Reminder of our website, www.truthsentinel.co. Just a reminder that there are two YouTube channels, Truth Sentinel 1 and Truth Sentinel. Try to subscribe to both. Try to bookmark our channel, our website. Email me, scottsentinel9@gmail.com. Find us on all the other sites like BitChute, Brand YouTube, Odyssey, Spotify, Believe TV. I don't update all episodes on those places because of certain things like money and, to be honest, Brand YouTube, time, and also technical problems. Like some of these sites they don't work as well as YouTube. To be honest,
that's a fact.
They don't have enough money themselves. You know, Brand YouTube, I can never actually upload an episode. I can occasionally do it. I've got about 2. I would love to put all of them on there, but it just doesn't work. That's my comment on that.
Reminds me of BitChute, because BitChute has that same problem where like their upload rate is terrible. For a while it was almost impossible to put videos on BitChute. Now they've started to kind of figure it out, but now they also instituted a limit for gigabytes of information, so suddenly larger videos now can't even be put up anymore. So like there's you get it.
Same with Brand YouTube. I literally keep trying to compress the videos, cut them in half, cut them in quarter. It still won't let me upload them. Says maximum size. So I don't understand it, but never mind. Just basically, if you can, everyone, try and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, just so that I can send, because I always send out messages on Twitter, on Facebook, on the Truth Sentinel page. You can find all the links on YouTube in the About section. That's all for today. Thanks a lot again. I'll put some music on now, and we'll listen to Seth next week. Catch you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace.